Hello and welcome to part 7 of the Touch Me Cal. We have two interesting stitches for you again this time. One of them is going to be this little flower stitch. I've only done one, you will do 2 sets of these. And we also have the Pebble Stitch, which is made using a 7 loop puff stitch with no closing chain. I did 2, you'll be doing 6. So without any further ado, let's get started. So let's just go through the notes first for the Pebble Stitch before we start. It says, you will not work the closing chain after each puff stitch. So basically we will be making puff stitches, 7 loop puff stitches here, but without a closing chain. We also have a tip from the test team. Working a smaller loop while working the puff stitch is going to keep our Pebble Stitch neat. So I'll show you what that means in a second. Everything's in the prelude as well. All right. Row 150, first row. We begin on the correct side, on the top of our blanket. You can tell now because of the beads, or you should be able to tell because of the beads or your other stitches that are here. Join in the first stitch and make a chain one that does not count, and then make a single crochet in the first stitch. So I'm just going to do my standard standing single crochet in that first stitch, and this first row is just a single crochet all the way down. So that's nice and easy. Let's get that one done, and then we'll turn and begin our first row of the puff stitches. Okay, do that one. Make sure your stitch count is correct, and I'll be back shortly to do row 151. Blah. Here we go. On to row 151. Turning, we're on the back of the work now. Chain one that does not count, and a single crochet in that first stitch. That's your first stitch. Now it says puff stitch 1 in the next stitch. If you read your prelude, you know we're doing 7 loop puffs, which is yarn over, pull up a loop from the next stitch 3 times. So yarn over into the next stitch, pull up a loop once, yarn over, pull up a loop twice, yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times. That will put 7 loops on your hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're a bit squished. Then to finish off, we do a yarn over, pull through all the loops carefully, and we stop. Now normally for a puff, most of us are used to doing a closing chain like that. We are not doing that part. Don't do that bit. Okay, that's how you're making the puff stitch that we need to create the Pebble Stitch effect. All right, now let's begin the full repeat. It says in the red curly bracket, single crochet 1 in the next stitch. There is the next stitch right there, and then a puff stitch in the next. So yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times, 2 and 3, yarn over, pull through all the stitches on your hook. Now because this yarn is acrylic and it's very splitty, I'm going to have trouble with my puff stitches, so don't mind me. Okay, there's my puff. Now I'm going straight into the next stitch and making a single crochet, so there's no closing chain on the puffs. Now from this side it looks absolutely like nothing. It's perfectly flat, there's nothing there. But when you turn, you'll see that these puff stitches are popping out on the other side. So without that closing chain for the extra height, and then that single crochet dragging the puff down, we're creating a nice little pebble effect on the other side. Alright, let's do one more, even though the repeat begins with the single crochet and I've already done it. So let's do the puff again. 1, 2 and 3, pull through, no closing chain, and the repeat starts a single crochet in the next stitch. Okay, so basically all your puff stitches are being pulled to the side, they're being dragged sideways. It's kind of hard to tell here, but you'll see it in your own work. Now the note, one of the tips there was from the test to say to make the loops on your puffs shorter so that it looks neater, it creates more of a pebbled effect. So I'm used to doing my puff stitches and pulling my loops right up to about a double crochet height. It's quite high there. 2 and 3. Now it's easier to get your hook through those, I'm not going to lie. I'll just cinch that down so I can have a look at it. So I need you to play around and see. To me, mine look the same. I don't know why they do, but they do. But it depends on how you normally do your puffs. If you're one of those people that pulls the puff loop up really high, you might find it splitting open on you when you finish the stitch off. And you might also find it, actually this one which I did really high is very untidy. So now I can see what the girls meant. See, my loops were very loose and it's not neat at all, and it's also actually flatter on the side that it should be nice and chunky. There we go, see the difference? I've lost the structural integrity of that pebble by making my puff too loose. So I'll pull that one out. Right, what I need you to do is go all the way down and finish. Oops, I think I've spun the wrong way. There we go. So single crochet, puff stitch, single crochet, puff stitch all the way down 97 times. When you get to the other end, you should have 2 stitches left. So your final puff will go, where's my second last stitch? There's my last stitch, there's my second last. Your final puff will go here, and you should have 2 stitches left. So I'll meet you down there and we'll finish off together. Here we go. Here's what the first bit of the pebble stitch is looking like. Just using puff stitches without a closing chain. Alright, I'll meet you at the end. Here I am down the other end, and remembering the repeat ends on a puff stitch, and there are my remaining 2 stitches, one there and one there, and I'm going to put a single crochet in each of those. Okay, so you finish with 2 single crochet. The repeat ended with the puff stitch. I'll split my yarn again. That's it. So we're going to turn after that. The pattern does not change colorways. I counsel you to keep checking your colorways so that you know when to fasten off and secure your ends, and then what side to reconnect to. But there's that first set of pebble stitch. I'll be back in a second for row 152. Row 152 is going to be the same for every return row, very easy. Chain 1 to begin, does not count. Single crochet in that same first stitch, and then single crochet all the way down. So every time you complete the puff stitch row, you return with just straight single crochet all the way back. It's always a good opportunity to check your stitch counts then, because you should have 2 stitches. You should have the puff and a single crochet, so you've got your 2 stitches count all the way down. You did start with 1 single crochet before, and we finished on 2, so just be mindful of that. But if you just want to do a little tick-tocky sort of thing, say 1 2 1 2 1 2 till you get to the end, and then you've got just the 2 single crochet. Alright, I'll be back for row 153. There we go. And now our pebbles are really popping out. And they are basically puffs on a diagonal, really. Okay, now before we start row 153, if you've looked at the photo, what you will see is that you have 6 sets of these pebble stitch sections. So we've got the puff single crochet row, and then the return single crochet row, okay, 6 times. But if you look closely, you'll notice that they are sometimes, well, they are, not sometimes, they are offset. Every row looks like it's offset. So when we did this first one, we started with a single crochet, because remember we worked them from the reverse side, single crochet and immediately the puff, right? The next time you do it, which is what we're about to do, you'll do 2 single crochets so that the first puff falls in here, in between. And then you'll finish that set, and you'll come back with your single crochet, and then we'll revert to this one. 1 single crochet, and then immediately the puff, and down we go. And that will just zigzag them and offset them a little bit. So have a look at that photo in the pattern, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now I've changed in colour, I am changing colour, only so you can see that in action, all right? So everybody else should have turned. You will make a chain 1 that does not count, and then put a single crochet in that first stitch while I make my standing single crochet. So you have a single crochet. Now we're going to put a second single crochet in there before we begin our puff stitches. And now we do the puff. Yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times. Yarn over, pull through all. Yep. And then continue. So we've begun the repeat now with the puff stitch, and we're ending with the single crochet. And again, yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times. I'll just do a couple so you can see it when I turn it over. Single crochet in the next. One more. 1 2 and 3. Pull through, single crochet in the next. Right, let's have a look at it now. We flip, get everything out of the way. Okay. And there we go. So it's not a clear delineation, but you can see that it is slightly offset, okay, so that they're not clashing with each other. All right, so continue on all the way down so you can finish this row. You will actually finish on a last single crochet, so you will use all of your stitches this time. So the second last stitch will get the puff and the final stitch will get the single crochet, and then you're ready to turn, okay? And then I'll come back and talk you through a little bit more. All right, that's from this side, and this is what we're ending up with. Second row of pebbles, just slightly offset and sitting above the gap between the previous ones. All right, let's finish this row and I'll be back. So we finished row 153 here with a full repeat. So there's the puff and the final single crochet. Now you're going to turn and continue. Now I'm not going to show you anymore because basically these 4 rows that we've already made are you're going to repeat 2 more times, the whole set. Okay, so that you end up with 6 of these rows of pebble stitch, but every other one is offset. So here they are offset. The next one will start immediately and drop straight in there. So you're just going to repeat row 150, but you don't have to think about that. They are all written out for you. You don't have to remember anything. I'm just explaining because I'm not going to do any more because they're identical. So this row now is going to be the single crochet row 154. So just get started again. You begin with a chain 1 that doesn't count, single crochet in the first stitch, boom, single crochet all the way down. Then you turn and you'll begin the first row of puff stitches, which was a single crochet first, then the puff immediately, because now this is the second set we're going to do. When you get to the 4th row, you're going to do 2 single crochet to begin, so you can offset. It's all in the stitch, in the actual pattern, written nice and neat for you. This will bring you down to row 161, which ends with the puff row, just like I did here. We did the final puff row from here, will be row 161. Then you will fasten, or actually no, you don't fasten off if you're following the pattern, because we go straight into Deja Vu, and some of you will be using the same color. So for those of you following the pattern colorways, there is a color change. Where are we? I have to find it. At row 157. It's a puff stitch row. When you finish it, you have to fasten off and secure your ends for colorway 1, because it switches from banana to sunshine, I believe, or something like that. But please, please guys, always check the colorway. I'm not always going to remember to remind you. Okay, that's it. I'll meet you for Deja Vu at the end of this. You can make as many of these or as few as you wish. I'm just going to stop with the first 2 only because they are slightly different versions by being offset. And then we'll do Deja Vu, and then we will move on to the cutest stitch I've ever seen, flowers. Okay, Deja Vu, again, boring because we've done it tons of times. Just make sure if you're reconnecting your yarn that you're connecting from the front of the work. Most of you will just be turning and doing a chain 2 to start for your first half double, and I'm doing a standing half double because I changed my color. So as you know, half double crochet in every stitch all the way down, nothing new. Get to the end, turn, chain 2 for the first half double all the way down, and let's see, we are fastening off and securing our ends, I believe, everybody, before we start the next section. So there's Deja Vu. It looks just like that, nothing new. I will be back shortly to begin the next section called flowers. Remember, 2 rows of half double crochet. See you soon. Okay, we'll move on to the flowers section. I've picked up a different sampler that I'm doing because I need the stitch count here. So my suggestion to you is have a look at the prelude too, have a look at the photos, get your eye in about what you're going to be seeing me do. If you've got that practice piece that we used for the crocodile stitch, I think I suggested it, or a couple of the others, try it out on that first before you do your full flower section. Now, we begin on the correct side. On the front of your work, you're going to be joining. I don't know where you ended up from the last set of Deja Vu, from the last section where we did that pebble stitch. I've just used a different piece, so I've got to remember to join on the correct side of my work. So join and make a chain 2 for your first double crochet. I'm just going to quickly make a standing double crochet to get me started. So 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Get that stitch marker up before it starts clattering. Now, nice and easy row, 1 double crochet in the next stitch and in every other stitch down the line. So we're just doing a whole row, an entire row of just double crochet. That's row 164. I'll come back and tell you what to do for 165, but I'll give you a heads up now, it's exactly the same. When we get to the end, turn, chain 2 for your first double crochet and 1 double crochet all the way down. So let's just get both of those done. I won't come back to tell you about that one. You get to the end, put double crochet in your final stitch, turn, chain 2, double crochet all the way back, and then we're ready to start making flowers. So let's go grab a cuppa, get those 2 rows done, and then we'll reconvene for row 166, and then we'll take our time and work it step by step. At the end of row 165, you should flip and you'll be back onto the front of your work, the right side of your work. So for row 166 now, you just need to do a chain 2. Now, I am just going to join a different colour so you can see where my work is going. It's just easier for you to visualize where the stitches are going. So I've made a standing double crochet. You might have a chain 2. Then it says 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches. So 1, 2, 3 along. That gives me a total of 4 double crochet at the start of the side on the row. 4 total. There we go. So you could have a chain 2 and 3. That's fine too. Now we're going to begin our repeat and our first flower. We'll take it step by step. The red curly brackets. It says double crochet 2 in the next stitch. There's the next stitch, double crochet 2 of them, 1 and 2, like that. So I've got 2 in there. Now if you've read the prelude, it gives you some extra tips about where things go, but let's just do it as it says it. It says chain 2. See, notice already I'm tilting my work because I know what's going to happen. Chain 2, tilt a little bit, and it says, where is it? Double crochet 2 around the post of the second double crochet. There's my pair, 1 there, 1 there. Around this second one, we're going to put 2 double crochet around the post. So rotate slightly and make 2 double crochet around the post into the gap between those 2 double crochet. So like that. There's the double crochet there. I've got a chain 2 going up and 2 double crochet. If you get this right the first time, you'll be sitting pretty. Next it says chain 2 and then slip stitch into the same space. So no yarn overs, come straight down into that space, pull up a loop and then slip stitch and pull that tight, pull that a little bit tight so you get a nice neat petal. That's your first petal made. Let me pull the hook out of the way. There you go. 1 petal has been made around that second double crochet, like that. Then it says repeat between the asterisks 2 more times. That'll give us a total of 3 petals. So we have to do this again 2 more times. Let's go. Chain 2, 2 double crochet around the post of that second double crochet. So right where we did the first petal, 2 double crochet again, then chain 2 again, and then anchor that chain 2 back into the space with a slip stitch, a nice tight slip stitch. And now we have 2 petals. So one more time, that's the second one. Chain 2, it begins with the chain 2. You've got to get the chain 2 for height. Then you make your 2 double crochet into that same little gap between the 2 double crochet that you made together. Then you have to chain 2 again so you can come back down. Chain 2, and we anchor that chain 2 back into this. It's getting a bit crowded now, back into that same space with another tight slip stitch, and now we have 3 petals. Straighten up your work again and you can see that you have 3 pretty petals. Okay, that's that section. Now it says rotate your work so you can work around the post of the first double crochet of that pair. That's over here. Now, it might seem a bit complicated, but it really isn't. I'm going to give you my own personal tip now, because we're going to make 2 more petals and we're going to make them around that first double crochet. But I would suggest before you turn, you make your first chain 2. It's just so much easier to then flip around like this and come back over here and work in that double crochet. Now, if you're worried about getting into the right double crochet, the correct one, pop a little stitch marker in it so you can see before you rotate where you're supposed to go, like that. Okay, because that is that first of that pair of double crochet. So that's why I do my chain first and then I turn. Don't need a lot of turn, you just need to be able to get into that stitch, and then I fold so I can actually get to that. And because I've got a stitch marker there, I know exactly where I need to go. I've done my chain 2, I need to make another petal, so another 2 double crochet. Whoops, where is it? There. 1 and 2. Then my chain 2 again, and then back down into that, around that first double crochet we made with a slip stitch to anchor the 4th petal. I can take the stitch marker out now because I've got to make 1 more petal right where I just made that last one. Let's get rid of that. So now I've got 4, see them? 1 more, because we're making 5 petals. Chain 2 again, 2 double crochet around that same, fold the work out of the way, around that same first double crochet, which you can no longer see, by the way. 2, chain 2 again, come back down and anchor it. Oops, dropped my stitch. I was trying to pull it tight too soon. Get the stitch through first, then tighten it. Now, before you continue, just flatten everything out, because now what we're going to do is we are going to come back here and we're going to continue down the row. And to do that, you must make sure that your petals are first sitting correctly. Flatten them out like that. Okay, and pick up your loop, because now I need this yarn behind that petal. We're going to fold it forward, fold it out of the way so you can see what you're doing, because now it says chain 1, double crochet 1 in the next 6 stitches. Now the reason I changed colours so you can see that this stitch is used. That's not where I'm going to start working. I'm going to start working over here. So you need to be very careful. So we begin with that chain 1, you come behind the petal, find your next stitch. It's not that one, it's pulling. You can see there's stuff in it. It's over here. Oops, get my petal out of the way. And make a double crochet in each of the next 6 stitches. 3, that'll give you a nice gap between them so they can sit flat next to each other, not overlap. I think that's 5. Yes, 1 more, and 6. And I'll stop and we'll have a look. There we go. Put it down. Oh, traffic time. There's my 5 petal flower. Now, if you're worried that it's looking a bit untidy, don't. When we come back, we're going to put a stitch in across there and it will really tighten everything and neaten everything up. Okay, there's that, there's that. I'll do another one, don't worry. Now I'm just looking here. Oh yeah, no. One of the things I want to encourage you to do often, see this petal looked really wide to me and I got a bit worried. I thought maybe I put an extra double crochet in it. So keep an eye on it. If you make your petals too wide by accidentally putting 3 double crochets in, they're just going to end up puckering because there's not enough room for all of them to spin around. Okay, I don't know why this one's so fat. Maybe I just got looser. There's my chain, there's my 2, and there's another chain. I just got a bit loose, I guess, after the first one. So check yourself at regular intervals. You know, you're doing so much work, you want it to look good. Now there's something else I want to mention, and I didn't do it so you could see it, but I'll do it for the next one, and then I'll just a caution. Make sure you anchor every chain 2 at the end of the double crochet. Otherwise, you're going to have a little chain loop here, and your flower doesn't look right. Your petals need to be free like this. Okay? All right. Let's go again. Give me a second. I'll just reset myself. So back to the top where the red curly bracket is again. We begin with double crochet 2 in the next stitch. So there it is there, 2. So you've done your 6. Now we're putting 2 together in the next stitch. Actually, this is an opportunity, if you want to mark that first one so you can find it when you come around to do this, what is it, 4th and 5th petal. There we go. Okay, it also helps you to differentiate with the second one. And then we start making petals again. So we start with a chain 2, rotate a little bit, and put 2 double crochet around the post of the of the second double crochet of the pair you just made. Then you chain 2 and you anchor. I'm not going to anchor this one so you can see the difference, because then you've got to start again. If you haven't anchored and you're starting and you get confused and you start your next petal, you end up with this. And let's remember to anchor this one, and I go down and do my slip stitch, and you end up with this gap, which we don't want. We don't want that. We want this nice closed self-contained petal. So you must stop with each petal. Don't just move on regardless. Check that every petal has been anchored before you move on. It's like a fraction of a second to do that. Okay, now I make my second petal, chain 2 up again, 2 double crochet in around the post of that second of the pair, chain 2 again, come down and anchor. Okay, so now that's 2. It's not so awkward when you're doing it for yourself. It's a bit awkward when you're trying to do it for a camera that doesn't move. Alright, one more on this side. So we do 3 into the first one and 2 into the second. Oh, I'm mixing up my jargon. 3 of the petals go into the second double crochet of the pair. 2 of the petals go into the first double crochet of the pair. So see, I nearly did that. Did you see what I just did? I almost forgot to anchor. It is so easy to do. Anchor that petal. I'm glad you saw me do it, because that's what I'm trying to say. Keep an eye out. So now I have 3 anchored petals. Now I need to come over and do 2 more over here in the marked one. And like I said before, my tip to you, saves me, is chain 2 first, because then it's easier to just rotate when you're haven't got your hook jammed in down there. Alright, now there's my marked stitch. Pinch everything out of the way and make the first of my 2 double crochet in there, after which I can probably remove that stitch marker. 2, right, chain 2 and down to anchor. That's the 4th one done. This is in the way, it's annoying. Pull it out. Find yourself a smallish stitch marker. Those little safety pins those little pins are really handy. Final one, chain 2 in around that second, or the same first double crochet. I give up. 1 and 2, chain 2, back down in there to anchor, and we are done our second flower once I slip stitch that nice and tight. Then of course you must make sure that everything's sitting correctly. There it is. Your hook to the front, the yarn to the back, like that. Make a chain 1, fold your flower out of the way, find your next stitch, which is over here, and put a double crochet into that one, and 5 more, so a total of 6 across. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and then your repeat starts again. So now we have 2 pretty little flowers. There we go, 5 petals a piece. So the very first one should easily pivot up and kind of sit towards the top there, and then we'll anchor these on the return row. So I'm going to let you go. When you get to the other end, you will finish your petal, your last petal, and you will should only have 4 stitches left. Okay, so you do your chain 1, but you double crochet only into 4. Okay, you won't have 6 at the end, you'll only have 4. So I'll finish off here, I'll meet you back here, and then we'll turn and continue. Just finishing up with you now. So that's my last flower completed. I've done my chain 1, and here are my last 4 stitches to put a double crochet into. 1, 2, 3, and my turning chain makes 4. And there we have a nice pretty little row of flowers. I didn't check how many sets you're doing in this section. I should just scroll up real quickly and see. Oh, I'm not sure, it's shiny. I can only see 2. Are we that lucky? Oh yes, 2. But you can do as many as you like. I mean, it's so pretty. Once you get the hang of it, really, it's not that difficult. All right, let's get ready for row 167. Row 167, we are looking at the back of the work, and just take a minute to check yourself, because see, I've got groups of 6 double crochet all the way down. I've got 4 at the beginning and 4 at the end, so it's a good visual if you want to just make sure you've got everything right. Right, for row 167 we need a chain 2 for the first double crochet, and then a double crochet in each of the next 3. So each of those 4 gets a double crochet in it. 2, 3 and 4. This is not a difficult row, but it's just about placement right now. Now it says, the repeat begins. Working over the center of the flower, there it is right there, there's the gap, little hole there. There's the center of the flower. My lighting has gone again. Work 1 double crochet in the space between the next 2 double crochet, which is those 2 here, there and there, and into the gap. So right into the center of the flower, right in between those petals, cinch it down and make a double crochet like that. So if I turn it, we've just got a double crochet right coming down there into the center. Okay. Then we're going to make a double crochet in each of the next 6. It says fold the flower out of the way, so get the flower now out of the way and make a double crochet in those 6 double crochet that went in between our flowers. So that's an easy count there. So you're going to have 6, a double crochet in each of those 6, and a double crochet in the center of your flower, and on you go. Nice and easy little repeat, just making sure that you get into the center of that flower and make your double crochet. Okay, let me flip that over. There you go. And now my flowers are sitting much more neatly and much more, flat out. They're not flying off the work. I mean, look, it's supposed to be played with. They're going to be moved around. That's the whole point of this exercise. But now you can see that they are neatly framed. Okay, so get all the way down to the end. You will not have 6 at the other end, just like before. You will only have 4 stitches down the end, so you'll put your 1 double crochet in the gap around there, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 to finish off the side, and then we'll turn, and I'll come back for row 168. But that's what you should have now. Row 168 is easy. We've turned, now we are looking at the right side of the work. It's just another row of double crochet. So chain 2 to begin for your first double crochet, and then a double crochet in every stitch all the way down. That's all there is to that. Okay, which is basically what we did at the very beginning. We did 2 rows of double crochet. Row 167 was a row of double crochet, but also anchoring our flower. And now row 168 is just full double crochet end to end, nothing different. So I'll let you finish that one anyway. I just snagged my yarn there, so I'll just stop and have a quick chat in a second. Get your row done, and then we'll talk about what happens next. Oops, I've got 4 flowers in there. There we go. So at the end of row 168, for some of you there's a colour change. You'll need to fasten off and secure your ends. So check your colourways. Now what's remaining to be done is row 169 and 170. Now row 169 is your flower. So you're going to do another row just like 166 of the flower. Then you're going to turn and do the double crochet row that anchors the flower. This one here that puts that double crochet into the center of the flower. So 2 more rows and you're done. I mean, like I said before, if you want to do more flowers, you like them, you can do more. But for the pattern, that's where we finish. 1 more set of flowers, so basically 2 more rows and you're done. At the end of this, there is no deja vu. because next up we're going to be putting a border on. So you finish up with row 170 and you stop. Fasten off and secure your ends, and then we'll come back for the final part for the border, and I'll show you how to put a border on. Now there is a note at the end of round 170 that says it's time to block the blanket so the edges are smooth and straight before the border is added. That's entirely your call. I'm not a blocker, I've got to tell you, but I'll think about it. I'm just going to do a small sample anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. But if you feel your edges are a little bit rough and you're worried, give it a bit of a wash and a block, or whichever preferred blocking method you have, and then we'll return in the final part, part 8, for the border on our Touch Me blankets.